Okay, this is Tinker Reddy. I teach writing and journalism, and I often use a speech or a meeting assignment to get students started, either in a news class or in a writing class where I want them. This class will teach you how to be a very tight writer. It'll teach you how to use a neutral voice. So it can be kind of a template for a news story in that you're going to use a lot of skills here that you will use throughout reporting and other kinds of research. Really, some of the different kinds of PR writing requires you to go out and do reporting like this as well. So the reporting skills you'll learn are observation. You're going to watch what's going on. You're going to listen. You're going to take notes. I take notes by hand and record also. I'll talk more about note taking, but if you take notes by hand and record also, then you can use your notes as an outline and you don't have to go back. You never want to have to go back and transcribe your recordings. It takes forever. You want to do interviews. We'll talk about how to do interviews and how to do research. You need to sort of put whatever your talk or your meeting is in context, and we'll talk about how to do that and how to cite that. The citation skills and citation rules in journalism are different than they are in academia. Anyway, so once you go to your meeting and you interview your people, you're going to come back and you're going to write a summary lead. And a summary lead is like a hard news lead. You don't see them that much anymore, honestly, but it's who, what, when, where. The city council last night approved a new park for the East Cambridge neighborhood. That's the kind of thing that you want. And you're going to learn how to use your quotes and paraphrase the parts that aren't that quotable but that you want to use in your story, because that's going to bring your story to life. People talking, hearing people's voices. You're going to write in a neutral, or sometimes called an objective voice. You're just not going to have any opinion in there at all. I'm going to teach you how to write in a very neutral manner. It won't be boring, but you'll be just describing what you see and what you know, not what you think. Accuracy, I'm going to mark you way down if there's anything that's factually inaccurate, and we'll talk about how to check facts, and when you do your research, how to get good facts. And clean copy, you really want to hand in something that doesn't have a lot of mistakes in it, and if you're in my class, we're going to work a lot on that. All right, so the assignment is to go to a meeting and to write a 400 to 600 word news story. Whenever I go to report on anything, I always I try and get there a little early. I get a good seat. Sometimes I'll network. I'll try and see who's speaking and talk to the speaker. Sometimes you can get great quotes from the speaker afterwards that other people there won't have, or the city official. And a good quote is something like, "We did that 5 times and it didn't work," rather than "there were 100 people there." And we'll be talking more about quotes as well. If you're having a speech, you want to have at least 2 quotes from the speaker. Really, you want more than that. You're there to report on what the speaker said. And you should have 1 quote from an audience member, meeting participant, or 2. It really varies from assignment to assignment. There's no set number, but you want quotes from both of them. All right, so here are a couple of rules that are going to apply for all of journalism, not just this assignment, which is use full names. You can't use anonymous quotes. What you want to do is go up to someone and say, "Hi, my name's Tinker Reddy. I'm working on a story for a class. I need to interview someone. It won't appear anywhere online. Can I talk to you?" "Oh, sure. Can I get your name?" "Tinker." Or "Sally. Can I get your last name?" "Oh, no, I don't want to give you my last name." "Okay, thank you very much. Go on to the next person." All right, so same thing. "Hi, I'm working on this. Won't be published. Can you give me your name?" "Sally. Can you give me your last name?" "Jones. Do you have an email or a phone number that I can contact you with just in a pinch? My editor or my professors made me get it." "Oh, no, I can't give you that." "I wouldn't use them. If you don't have contact information, don't use them." So you want to get that contact information. It can be a phone number or it can be an email. And we'll talk more later on the use of anonymous sources. One of your first key goals is to write that clear summary lead. I like 35 words or fewer. It's tight. It's very tight, but we'll work on it. Who, what, where, when. They put how in there too, but sometimes the how doesn't fit. Focus on the speaker's main point or the most important discussion or action. You're going to keep yourself out of the story. Journalists are observers. They're not participants. You'll see a lot of stories with first person in them. We're not writing that type of story in this class, and that's not what I'm talking about here. I'm talking about a news report where you are just an observer. And we'll talk about how to use an objective voice. Just if it's not something that's confirmed by a fact that somebody else said, that's from a document, don't use it. And never use first person, I, me, or we in your stories. You're not in there. So there's one way to stay more neutral is to avoid using adjectives. And actually, your writing will improve if you use fewer adjectives as well. I know that sounds anti-intuitive, but if you say brave firefighter, expensive suit, exciting concert, other people might not think these things are expensive, and this firefighter might be really afraid. So just be specific. And this, again, will apply to all of your writing. If you say the room was filled with decorations, say the room was filled with Chinese lanterns and flashing lights. Decorated firefighter, $5,000 suit, sold out concert. Concert, yeah. And there's Meryl Streep as Katharine Graham, and Katharine Graham herself. Legendary editor of the Washington Post, including during this period where Woodward and Bernstein were working on the Watergate story. That would be Woodward and Bernstein. That would be Hoffman and Redford, the actors who played them. Okay, so another way to avoid bias or stay neutral is to be independent. This is really, again, the rules on this are changing, but for my class, for this assignment, don't interview any friends, family, or classmates. You need to interview strangers. I know it's awkward for some of you to walk up to people and ask if you can talk to them. It will feel awkward for everyone the first time, but after a while, you just get used to it. And people are really nice. You'd be surprised. I mean, people will be bad. You'll get everything, but hopefully not at these events you're going to. Don't write about any institutions or campaigns you're involved in. If you're working on one of the political campaigns, don't write about that. You know, you won't be objective. You have a conflict of interest. So those are two ways to really kind of keep yourself neutral. Accuracy, you know, there's been a lot of criticism of the press. The whole, I don't believe there is such a thing as fake news, but you know, anytime anyone gets anything wrong, everyone jumps all over us, the media, and it's just bad. It's bad for you. It's bad for your credibility. Even if you spell someone's name wrong in your story, then they think, what else did they get wrong? So this is a really important part of your work. So everyone's quotes have had to come out of someone's mouth from a document. If you don't think you can get a full sentence written down accurately, I mean, I've had students interview me with their phones, and I don't know. I don't think they don't seem to be typing that fast. I can't imagine. And the quotes were like, I didn't even recognize them. But that's why I say record and take notes. Everything I have horrible handwriting. I can get a pretty good, like, one or two sentences. You have to sort of concentrate on that one or two sentences and not listen to the next one. Be listening, but make sure it's accurate. That's why I tape too. Every name and institution, go back and check all the names and institutions. Every number and fact needs to be checked. Circle them and go back and check them. This is what we call a pencil check. And prove these dudes wrong. Every fact has to be confirmable. Go back, circle every number, proper noun, names, organizations, places, double check each one. I'm guarantee you'll find stuff. You will find stuff. I had a horrible typo in the headline of my blog post last week, and I'm still horrified. All right, so when you start to write, important part of a news story, and actually your profile will use something like this, but not exactly the same, or the first three paragraphs. So you're going to have that summary lead. We're going to talk more about that. That's the who, what, where, when, the main point of the speaker. Then you're going to have details that didn't fit in the lead, the speaker's name usually. You don't want to use the speaker's name in the lead because unless it's a really famous person, and it's, did they use this guy's name in the lead? No. He's famous in the, data journalism world. And then you want a quote, a power quote, a really good quote that reflects the main point. So again, 35 words or fewer on that summary lead. What was said, done, why should the reader care? All right, so two common problems I see in speech leads or meeting leads is that they're too long, or they say the speech or the meeting happened and not what action was taken. The city council met last night. I don't want that. I want, a new park. The city council voted to have the new park to approve a new park. For example, Professor Tinker-Reddy talked about the future of news at a forum on journalism last night. I'm going to get a ton of leads like that. I get usually half the leads I get like that, but here's what I want. I want main point. Newspapers may die, but the news will live on. According to the not my name, but what gives me authority. Boston University journalism professor. I did used to teach in the journalism department, who spoke at a Wednesday campus forum. So you always have to have the day. So that's the when. So who, what, where, when. Another problem is people try to just cram too much in there, and so that's why we have the second paragraph and for the names of people. So, for example, here's a name. If I wrote this story, global warming is a reality that is well supported by scientific research, said Carrie Jones, who spoke at Northeastern University on Monday. Who's Carrie Jones? Nobody knows who Carrie Jones is. She's no one, because I made her up. Instead, you want to say, all the good stuff said a top environmental activist who spoke at Northeastern on Monday. So again, that's something you can save for your second paragraph the actual name. Just here, you want to say what gives that person authority to say this. So again, you want to emphasize the news, what's new. A lot of times, young reporters will come back from a meeting and say, first they decided this, next they decided this, next they decided this. No, you want to figure out what was the most important. You don't want to report chronologically. You want to report and most important. Attribution at the end of that lead, the last of the 35 words is going to say, according to, said, blah, blah, blah. And also, avoid starting with a clause or a phrase. You just want to get right into it. Somebody did something. Here we go with the attribution. I do a lot of times get the head of the National Rifle Association last night spoke at Boston University and said blah, blah, blah. You don't want that. You want what they said first. The Supreme Court should not tamper with the constitutional right to own a gun. If you're writing news for me, I ask that you use say or said and not when in your attribution, according to said Tinker, Reddy, said Carrie Jones. Usually you're going to use said for this assignment. You're definitely going to use said, a past tense. Not urged, uttered, explained, any other words for attribution. The say or said will look like it's all, it looks like it kind of litter your story, but it sort of disappears. It melts in after a while. Okay, so here's that second name where you're going to use the second paragraph where you're going to use that name for the details. Head of the Greenpeace International spoke at a forum on climate change at Curry Student Center. Students tend to really pack on the titles of people, and people have long titles that aren't really titles. They're like job descriptions. So you really want to boil down someone's title or even their description as much as possible in news stories, if you decide to go into journalism. Okay, so for your third quote, you want that quote. Some people are saying global warming is a myth, Jones said, but there's proof the average temperature is going up each year and the polar ice caps are melting. All right, here's an example. That is me, probably in 1983 or 4 when I worked at a place called Valley Advocate, and those are my stories I wrote. The planning board approved a controversial special permit on Tuesday that will allow developers to renovate the Sullivan Courthouse building in East Cambridge. So there you go, boom, that's what they did last night. So again, after those first 3 paragraphs, you're going to alternate between quotes and paraphrasing. You don't want to just plunk a bunch of quotes together. You want to set them up. So you want to have like a little introduction and then a direct quote, a little introduction. We'll go over that some more in class, if you're in my class. And here's what I'm talking about when I say research or background. Well, why do people care about the, or give me some details. Here's some background. Leggett McCall plans to turn the 40 Thorndike Street space into about 420,000 square feet of office space and retail and 24 to 48 units of housing. Actually, a better piece of background here would be that this was very controversial and the neighbors fought it for a long time. So I don't know why I put that in. But anyway, they did, and they lost. So it's coming in, and that's how you write a news story. You go out, you report, observe, take notes, record, come back, sit down, write that lead, pull those quotes out, and you're going to be good to go. Okay, thanks.